take the approach, first of all, of creating something sustainable and reasonably fulfilling at the least. I think you're going to have a lot more success if you choose a way to work online that's actually enjoyable and fulfilling on some level. I mean, you might not be Mother Teresa, but something that's actually aligned with your personality type and that you're actually going to get enjoyment out of. Now, with all that said, I want to go through 3 of the most common ways to work online, and then with that, have the freedom to live where you want, set your own schedule, all that kind of good stuff. So approach number 1 is to have a product-based business or some kind of website or technology. This would be like having an app or having a product or multiple products that you have made in China or wherever else and then you sell, or having like, a website where you sell whatever on it, something like that, some kind of e-commerce business. Now, with the e-commerce side of things, there's pros and cons. And with these, I'm going to group them all together. Of course, there's a bit of variation, but I'm grouping together apps, products, and e-commerce here. The upside is that if the business does work, you have the potential to scale where you can keep growing quite quickly. So the upside in terms of how much money you can make is high. But I'm not including the risk there. I'm just saying the potential upside, of the higher end businesses. Like, for instance, Amazon or Facebook. They did pretty well for themselves, right? There's also the thing that you can't outsource and automate more of the work. So this is the big dream the 4-hour work week promised, right? Outsource, automate, eliminate, don't do any work, live on the beach, right? But we all know it doesn't necessarily go that way. And the people who do succeed in these kind of businesses are usually very passionate about the topic. And this brings me to the cons of this side of business, is a lot of people are drawn to these sorts of businesses by courses or gurus promising like make money selling on Amazon or make money doing this. And there's definitely success stories there. I would not call these people like scams or anything like that. There's definitely people who do succeed. But I think you need to be the kind of person who likes that sort of business. So for example, for me, I've actually worked in packaged goods marketing and I love like designing products and marketing and coming up with strategies. So creating my own product, which I haven't done, but it would actually make a lot of sense based on my skill set and what I enjoy. Whereas if you're someone who doesn't like, that you don't have any marketing skills, you don't necessarily like logistics or product design, does it make sense to go into a product business? Probably not. So one of the cons with this is I think it can end up taking quite a long time to succeed if you do, and there is a higher risk reward factor there. So if you're in a situation where you currently have a job, let's say, or you've just graduated university and you're thinking, okay, I want to work for myself, I want more freedom for myself and my family, think about how much time you have and how much you want to risk that. And some of the other options I'll cover here are going to be more likely, I'd almost go as close to say guaranteed to succeed. I wouldn't say guaranteed, but I get closer to it. In that if you take the approach, you're going to have that income and freedom. Whereas the product, app, or e-commerce business, you can definitely knock it out of the park and do amazing, but you've got to remember you're running a serious business and most businesses fail. So you really have to calculate, like, do I have the time? Do I have 10 years to kind of try, fail? Or am I looking for something that's going to give me more freedom in the immediate present? So the next up is a RO job or a remote job. RO being results-only work environment. These are the kind of workplaces where they don't really care if you show up or if you even live in the same city. It's all about the results and getting the work done. So there are plenty of jobs that will allow you to work online. But this is going to be by far the shortest section of the 3 options I cover because these jobs pose a lot of limitations. So on the upside, if you have a job that allows you to work online, that's great. And some people are able to take those jobs not only to work for a company in another country or across their own country, but actually have the freedom to fully travel with it, which is pretty cool. On the other side, there's a lot of downsides, and they factor into the same things of having a typical job. Here in Prague last year, there was this group that came through, and 90% of them had remote jobs. They talked about being like digital nomad entrepreneur, but they all just had jobs with companies back in the US, and they had shitty schedules, excuse my French, where at night they would have to be working because companies in the US were working then, and they had to balance their time zones because it's 6 to 9 hours ahead here. I can only imagine by the time the group got to Asia how it was for them. So there's some serious hindrances to this. Compared to a normal job, in some ways it has a lot of upsides, but I would argue that some of the stuff you get in a normal job, like the community, going into an office, like going out for lunch with people, it's actually kind of beneficial and is not a bad thing. It's something that actually as a solopreneur freelancer, I miss that side of things. And so if you have a job where you do have limited freedom still, you have fixed responsibilities, you have to attend certain meetings, and you miss often you don't get benefits, you don't have guaranteed pay as much, they're not actually employee jobs, they're like contracts, and you don't get that social interaction in office, I don't know. I think there's a lot of downside there. So it might be a way to get going, but to me, of the three options I'm talking about, the remote job is by far the least appealing, but hey, I might have my own biases too, right? And the third option for working online and having that freedom to travel or set your own schedule, and if you're a subscriber to my channel, you know this is my favorite. You know it was coming up. It is freelancing, coaching, or consulting. And there's many reasons why I love this as your first place to start out, if not as your final destination when it comes to working online. The first thing is that you can start earning money almost immediately. I'll link to an article where I tell you exactly how I did it. When I started as a freelance copywriter, I had a couple clients within 72 hours of starting out. And that's a great way to get going, right? Rather than having to invest money and go the opposite way, and then potentially spend 6 months to a year before you get a return on investment. Same thing happened when I launched my coaching practice. I started with 5 clients sort of out the gate, which is, again, a great way to start out. Another thing I love about taking the freelancing approach is you develop a lot of fundamental skills that are going to help you succeed in any area of business. If you watch this channel, you already know that there are a lot of things that hold back entrepreneurs beyond the specific how-tos, right? Mindset or self-management abilities in terms of being productive, managing our moods, how to deal with clients, how to plan, set goals. All this stuff applies regardless whether you're a freelancer or you're running Amazon, right? It's the same traits, same skills, same personality, assets that you develop. The cool thing about freelancing is you can build those assets while getting a relatively stable income from the work. And then if you do choose to transition and start like an e-commerce business or a product-based business, you already have those self-management skills, which I think are one of, if not the most important part about succeeding when you work for yourself. The last pro I will mention, although I could probably go on for days here, is I think freelancing, if you do it right, if you learn how to manage your clients and set expectations, and watch some of my other videos on like freelancing and dealing with clients if you're curious, but if you do it right, you have such a high level of freedom because you have minimal, if almost non-existent expenses. You have no boss to answer to, and you can do the work on your own schedule. You can work nights or mornings. You can work from the other side of the world. I mean, I was dealing with clients in Vancouver on $8,000-$10,000 projects while living in Italy on the other side of the world with really crummy internet even. So I didn't even have like a stable phone line or anything, and it still worked out. Caused a bit of stress a few times if I'm honest, but still worked out. Now on the con side, the negative side, with freelancing, you do have to, and I guess this applies actually to all three, but you have to manage your social life and kind of look out for your happiness. Because if you are traveling, you're doing the digital nomad thing, and you're working for yourself as a freelancer, it can get easy to disconnect from people rather than if you had a traditional job at an office or something like that. And so learning to like make evening plans with friends or things like that and manage your social life to help stay balanced, I think is a really important thing to do. Another negative side to freelancing, coaching, or consulting is that you are trading your time for money. Now, this is one of those things, I'll talk a bit more later in the video on this, because I do think people, there's distorted perspectives about this, but you are ultimately having to trade your time. So even if you're up to $200 an hour, you're still having to work that hour for that money. You don't have the potential to necessarily like earn money while you sleep, that sort of stuff. Now, there are a few more negatives I will mention that I think other people would bring up, but I don't consider them negatives because I haven't experienced them, and if you actually know how to run your business, you won't either. One is not getting paid by clients, or basically not getting paid. It's been brought up to me that there's people online talking about like not getting paid for half their work or all this stuff, like missing payments. I've never missed a payment from a client. If you are one of my clients and I've missed one and I forgot, let me know, but to all my recollection, I've never not been paid. If you run your business right, if you set up your proposals right, you don't have to worry about that. It's not going to be a big issue. The other thing, all along the note of clients, is some freelancers get a lot of stress because they have, for lack of a better term, asshole clients that take up their time. They push them for more work without paying them more. They're not necessarily abusive, but they really don't respect them. And that's obviously a negative. Working for someone you don't like, who abuses your time, doesn't pay you on time, all that is a serious negative, not That's like having a boss, but maybe even worse. The thing is again, if you run your business right, it doesn't become an issue. Like, you can work with clients you enjoy who are cool people who will pay you upfront for the work, and you're not going to have those issues as well. But I did want to mention those because if you are kind of researching different ways to work for yourself, you may read about those negatives. And in my opinion, if you do things right, they're not really going to be an issue. So I want to wrap up this video with a really important final thought. Is if you're watching this, you're thinking about, how do you work for yourself? And your reasons are your own, right? But if you're purely externally driven, like you just hate your job and you just say, I want to work for myself, I got to get out of this, you're going to struggle. And that motivation, I don't think should be or can be your only motivation. I think you've got to combine it with finding work that resonates with you and you can be good at. And on paper, there might be one approach or the other that makes more sense, where you're like, well, that way sounds really good when this YouTube guy talks about it, but this is what I'd really like to do. Do this one. You're going to have more success following your heart, whatever. But really, you will. If you're doing work you enjoy, that's aligned with your natural personality strengths, you're going to have more success. And that's just for the better, right? It's going to make you more motivated, make you more focused, and it's just going to get you better results that way as well. So when you're first starting out, it's not unusual to be driven more by the external side. I mean, when I was 22, I was driven by want to make money, want to impress girls, want to, whatever, right? And that's fine. That's, I guess, normal. But really pay attention as you go along and look out for the hints at what you love doing, what you enjoy, where maybe your, not even passions, but skills are, the things you do well and that you seem to be able to deliver a lot of value for people, and follow those as much as you can. Follow your instinct and go down those paths. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you want to go down the rabbit hole more about freelancing, consulting, and coaching, I really encourage you to check out another one of my videos on how to work for yourself, where I go into all the details of how do you figure out what you should do, what service to offer, how do you get clients, and all those sorts of things. So it's a great jump start for working for yourself in one of these capacities. So I'll link to that video as well and check that one out. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, do subscribe here and catch my other videos where I will try my very best to give you some of those skills I've talked about in terms of getting paid well, getting the right clients, all those sorts of things as well. Thank you for watching. Catch you in some other videos soon.